Welcome back to the Rhonda Swan Show. Well, if you have enjoyed the last two interviews that I've had, you are really going to love this one. You know, we are here in Bel Air, not in my normal Bali studio. So if you're starting to hear some funny noises, maybe clinging and clanging in the back of the kitchen, doorbells ringing, people partying, it's because we're preparing for a big celebration event that we're having tonight for the launch of our book, Women Gone Wild. But I could not miss on the opportunity to interview some of these most excellent minds that I've been able to meet recently. And before we do that though, I want to thank the Nightfall Group. These guys have made this home here in Bel Air possible. View is gorgeous. You're going to get to see a picture of this in a moment. But we want to thank you guys for really making everything exceptional. So why don't we get started? Because my next guest, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for
His name is Jonas Muthoni, and he is the CEO and founder of Deviate Agency. Now, you're not only exceptional in relationship building, but your excellence continues to follow through in the work that you do. It's shown in how you treat your clients and the approach that you take when you're working with them. So, Jonas, first off, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it.
It's really, really great to have you. And, like, you and I come from really interesting background. I know for you, you have a family of 6. You were raised with a single mom.
Correct.
With 6 brothers and sisters.
Correct.
And you come from Kenya.
Correct.
So how are you in LA right now? Like, where did we start here? Let's just, because this is a big, this is a hero's journey.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think my journey is so long to just talk about it during the whole show. But so essentially, I moved to the U.S. in 2006. But prior to that, I was raised by a single mom of six kids. I think growing up, we lived in 150 to 200 square foot up to the age when I was 14 years old.
With 6 children and
Correct.
a mom.
And one mom.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think her monthly salary was about $20 a month. But I think being, I know, yeah. Yeah, so growing up in that environment where, it was all about perseverance, humility, I think, and being able to, take that over into my life in a different a part of the world has really helped me, one, to not take anything for granted, knowing what my mom had to go through with no help of any man. And it also helped me realize that, when you take out self-interest goals out of your life and turn them into contributive goals, right, then you just receive, because the more you give, the more you receive, and that's kind of what's helped my personal life and also its transition to my business.
Because you were working for a Fortune 500 company before.
Correct.
And what got you then to that point of saying, now I want to create Deviate, I want to create an agency that is like really doing things differently? Because the values around your company, and you and I've had some rather dear talks, and I'm all about it's the vibe and the values, right?
Correct.
And the moment you can really feel that from someone, you realize like this is the real deal. Correct. So how did you how did that start? How did you get to that transition point?
Yeah, so I worked in corporate, Fortune 15 company for 7.5 years. And the company was going through some changes, but then those changes actually presented an opportunity for me to really, explore and maximize my potential. So how that started was, I worked in sales and I worked in customer service, and everything that we did for the company ended up being outsourced to agencies in terms of execution. So the messaging, the marketing, and everything else. So with the changes that were happening within the company, I wanted to, try something different, entrepreneurship. And I decided, if there's one thing that everyone needs in this world is marketing, right?
Yeah.
So whether you're going on a date, you're always marketing yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I figured if I can actually solve problems, if I can find problems and be a solution to those problems, then I don't have to sell, right? So that's basically what I did. And luckily the company that I left was able to give me enough money by the time I was leaving to start my own business. And I moved into my offices in Newport right after. And I had a few employees that worked with us. And at the beginning, like I said, I just visited mom and pop shops and kind of talked to them about how great the food was. But most of the time there was no one there, and I would always ask them, the food is great, the experience is great, how come there's no one here? And it was an open-ended questions, and they would end up just telling me all their problems. And one, I wasn't selling. They built trust with me because I'm listening, and then I happened to be also the problem solver, and that's how I was able to be able to acquire clients and basically and having the right team to actually execute to give best in class results.
Well, this is big because what I heard you say is that you were listening. You actually cared about their business.
Correct.
And as well as I know that most marketers are just going for the sale.
No, we don't do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's enhance this because this is, I'm always, my goal is to speak with conscious entrepreneurs and those are making a bigger difference.
Correct.
And this is a definitive difference that you have that most companies don't.
Correct.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Well, again, let me just go back a little bit. So working in corporate actually helped me a lot to not wear emotions on my sleeve, right?
Right.
It helped me, I learned about leadership because I had my boss at that time in customer service, her name was Carla. She was amazing, right? Had personal talks with me, just helping me grow to becoming actually a leader, right? But then when I left corporate, I wanted to be different. And I thought, I'm going to start my business name by being different, and that's what it's called, Deviate, right? And I said, you know what, I'm going to focus on building relationships, and once I build relationships and I'm able to give, the best in class results, then two things happen. Customers are happy, and number two, they can stop talking about you. And when that happens, then
now you've got a winning combination.
Correct, yeah.
Well, I know you have a stellar team. I've met some of the others on your team. But what do you do? I know that you have a certain process for hiring. Like,
Correct.
how do you do that? Like, how do you find the right people that really own your values?
Values, number one, is key, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, my background, right? My background was, giving more than you take, right? And because I already worked a corporate job where there's titles, so I wanted to start a company where it had nothing to do with titles.
Yeah.
And also just create a culture of, culture was important because I wanted to create a culture where people actually don't see me as a boss, but more as the team member, right? And by doing so, I was able to I have one of the most diverse teams globally, right? And there's
I don't know, we might have competition on that one. Can you list off where your people are from?
Correct. Yeah, so I have a team in Pakistan, India, China, and Europe. Yeah.
I've got, I think I hit all of those too, actually.
Yeah.
Australia?
No. Yeah, but to answer your question, what I wanted was to hire people that are much, much smarter than me, right? So I wanted to make sure that the people that I hire are basically people that are going to teach me something, not the other way, right? And by doing so, I'm able to, people that I started working with in 2014, I still work with them up to today, right? And also, I think the other thing that's actually separated us is having the right business partners. Because, growing up in Africa, it was one of those things where when you say something, it's a word is bond, right? Yeah. And then coming here and learning the hard way that, pen and paper, contracts is very important. Yeah. So I did learn the hard way, but at the end of the day, every experience, good or bad, is a learning lesson. Yeah, for sure. It's just a matter of what you do with it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Deviate and really what are your core competencies, right? Like, what do you do excellent? Because I know you don't spread yourself thin.
Correct.
Right.
Sometimes, but yeah.
So you always go back to the core.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about that because I'm impressed. Everyone knows that I do when they hear from you that we have done similar work. However, when I met you and learned the excellence that you have in that area, I was like, okay, yeah, we have to partner. Like, we have to do things together.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're a full digital agency. So by doing so, I like to put it in simple layman terms: is anything you can imagine from a development side we can do, but the core of what we really do is helping businesses win in the online space. How do we help you bring leads? How do we turn those leads into customers, right? So when it comes to things like, say, SEO and SEM, so search engine optimization and search engine management, humbly, because this is a question that comes up all the time: why you and not someone else?
Yeah, but it's sometimes we
mean,
have to stand in our space and say,
yeah,
it's okay to be the category king.
correct. and that's why I like to say the term humbly.
Yeah, of
And I
course.
always challenge anyone.
For
if
sure.
you can actually present someone that's going to do a better job than us,
Yeah.
then we'll give you the service for free.
Yeah.
But that person has to go head to head with us, right?
Right.
But and also our agency being a full 100% referral agency, that means one person had an amazing experience and they inclined to talk about us. So we get referrals all the time. Luckily for me, I built a reputation around my personal brand within LinkedIn and just through networking events. So I do get people hit me up, like sometimes on LinkedIn. But SEO and paid advertising through Facebook, Instagram, and Google is where we thrive. That's like, and I think the beauty of it is we actually really enjoy doing it. Like, it is unbelievable. Like, I can't find enough time in the day, right?
To check the numbers, to check the
Correct.
conversion.
Yeah, and we're very analytical with it, right?
Yeah.
There's a saying, that's a cliche saying, they're saying numbers don't lie, right? So we apply the same term with what we do because you see progress, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's weekly, monthly. We're partners with Google and all that stuff. So we know what's going to happen. And, like Google had an algo update a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I had people call me, message me, hey, this happened, what can we do? And they need help because they know me, but they're tied with contract with other agencies, right? But guess what happened to all our clients? None of them. As a matter of fact, Google favored them because, one, we focus on quality and not quantity, right? And then also the structure within our company, so I want to say the face of the company. I mean, I lead the company.
Yeah.
But then I have a business partner who's just brilliant, right? So we have the entrepreneur, who's me, and then Matt, who is the manager, right? And then we have a bunch of technicians. So there's that trickle effect, right, from the leadership to the management, and then everyone, because everyone within our company is a business owner, right? So
important.
Yeah, so there's no micromanaging or anything like that. And one of the things actually I instilled upon everyone I've hired, this is the one thing I always tell them: before you come to me with a problem, also come to me with a solution, and then let's talk about it. And most of the time, we go with a solution because they're the experts.
Yeah, because they think about it. I mean, I think this is it shows the true essence of a leader.
Correct.
Because if we are that, Hitler-style leader says, I'm the only one you listen to, well then there's no new ideas, right? What would you say then when it comes to leadership? Like, if you could give some advice, because all of my audience are entrepreneurs. I love that your partners or employees also own businesses, because that's how we run our company. Every division, they run it like this, their own company.
Correct.
And you find that they care so much about that division that they run it.
Correct.
Because they want it to win, right? So what would you say, what would be like some of your best advice that you could give new entrepreneurs that are starting off, that are starting to build it on a team, right? What would be your best advice for leadership for them?
There's a few things. One of them is fear is always going to exist. So embrace fear, right? And number two, you have to have perseverance, because it's not going to be easy, right? So I'm a firm believer, hear me out, right? Human potential is limitless. It's just about what's the price you're willing to give,
Yeah.
right, to get that potential, and what are the things that you're willing to give up that are more of a personal gratification to really open up your potential that I said is limitless. And then the other thing, to every entrepreneur, you can never do it on your own. If you can name one single person that's done it on their own, no one.
No.
No one. So, so you have to, one, find the right team, and reward your team always, right? And everything else will just open up itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, I always love to ask that question because I always get such broad spectrum of answers. However, it always has that core.
Correct.
And it's coming down to be humble.
100%.
That's really the essence,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And you know the difference in someone that's willing to go the extra mile to
Correct.
allow their employees to actually have the ideas. I think that's what some of the greatest ideas have come from. Some of the biggest companies in the world.
Correct.
It didn't come from.
You know, just like you, right? When I met you the first time in person, and I got to meet your team, there's one thing that stood out, and that's why I said we're very synergistic, right?
Yeah.
One is that all your team is from different parts of the world,
Yeah.
right? Which is so unique in itself because you're able to bring all these diverse ideas, right?
Yeah.
To really put together something that is really special. So when I from the first time I was introduced to you, you know, just
Melika,
looking,
she's from New Zealand. Dennis from the Ukraine.
Portugal,
Portugal.
Stephanie from Germany.
Stephanie's from Germany.
I mean, I was so
Josie's
impressed.
from Austria.
Yeah, so it says a lot, right? And
Yeah.
just, you know, talking to each one of them, you know, the things they had to say about you, and just amazing things. You know, I met them, but I felt I was part of a family.
Yeah.
You know, and it was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's how you run your team, I can assume as well.
100%.
Right?
You meet anyone in my team, you know, we operate under nameless, rankless, right? We're just a team working together for the same goal.
Yeah.
And it's been quite a blessing to just be able to embark on a journey of something that I absolutely love to do. One more piece of advice to the leaders or entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You gotta love what you do. Because if you love what you do,
I mean, this whole statement, right?
Yeah.
You don't work a day in your life. It's true. My daughter, she's 15. She says it. She's like, it's really true though. If people actually love what they do,
Correct.
they'll just keep doing it. Like, she's an artist and a designer, and she's a fashion designer. She can sit and design
Correct.
10, 12, and never get out of her chair. And she's like, because I love it, you know? And I think that's the best advice ever.
Yeah, by the way, now that you brought her up, I was so impressed. You know, I couldn't stop talking about her. You know, I was even telling our sales, VP of sales, Ryan Lynette, you met him on the call, right?
Amazing guy.
And I was like, you know, she's 15 years old, but I mean, the artwork she's able to do, and talking to her, like she fit in, right?
Yeah.
Which was very, very impressive. And again, it goes back to, obviously, in your personal life, has to be the parenting, in the business life, the leadership. So, good job.
I appreciate that.
Very impressive.
So let me ask you another question before we go, because I think as entrepreneurs, like, we can persevere, we can be persistent, but when does the dark shadows happen for you? How do you handle them? Because I know it happens.
Correct.
Right? We can't just pretend.
Correct.
However, how do you navigate those moments of your own, you know, disbelief or distrust?
I think it's going back and, you know, just going back to where you came from and thinking about everything that you've had to overcome, right? And also, you know, just having the right people around you, whether it's people within your personal life and your team. And, you know, there's times where, you know, you can't control what other people do. And it's, you know, there's those dark moments. But at the end of the day, like I said, relationships are very important to us.
Yeah.
So if we're at fault, we're more than happy to find a way to make it better. So I want to say, it's obviously happened, but I think being willing to just lower yourself to where you admit fault if fault is your end, or maybe find solutions at no matter what cost that it's going to be, and be able to fulfill to your promises or delivery.
And that takes not just experience, but it takes trust.
Correct.
Right? I mean, our company, we guarantee our work. We say if we don't do it, we'll give you your money back.
Correct.
Like, that's hard to say. It is.
Yeah.
However, the relationship and my reputation
Correct.
matters so much more than the money.
100%. Yeah. And that's the thing too, not everyone is actually going to be your client, no matter how much money they have,
that's it.
no matter what relationships they have. Sometimes you just have to learn. Again, I guess this could be an advice to entrepreneurs. You don't always have to say yes, right? Because we've had to say, there's times we've had to say no to people because, one, the synergy is not there, or number two, based on their business model and what they're asking of us, we know we're not going to be able to give them that.
Yeah.
And when you're faced with that, don't be greedy and just think of the revenue. Think about that relationship and the honesty and what that could translate into.
I love it. So what's next for Deviate?
Right now, I think, like I said, we've added some key people within the company. One of them is Ryan Lynette, and you met him. He's, from what everyone tells me when they meet Ryan, they tell me how good looking he is, right? And then when he speaks...
He's going to owe you something after this one.
Yeah.
He's blushing. I see him. He's over there.
Yeah, and when he speaks...
We'll have to put a picture of Ryan right here.
Yeah. And when he speaks, he's...
genuine.
He's the alpha in his voice, but he's just naturally such a nice human being. Yeah. And like I said, with the culture of the company and everyone that's met Ryan, they love him. They comment on his handsome face, his fashion, and just the energy he brings, right? So
you must owe him something. Yeah,
so those are so those are some of the changes.
But this isn't private. But the fact that, especially like Leslie, we can just like break this whole mold about like men talking about other men. You're really giving them a genuine compliment.
Oh, absolutely.
That's right. It comes from a true heart
everyone
space.
that's gonna hear me say that and they see a picture of this guy, like,
he was right. They're like, he's not bullshit. He doesn't know him anything.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. I love what you do. I love what you stand for and the work that you are committed to doing, because it's always about how do we find the excellence in entrepreneurs and how do we continue to up level right the bar, because everyone can say they're an entrepreneur, but not everyone can say they're Deviate.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, and also make time to do the things you love and also giving, right? I've been a breast cancer board member for 5 years plus.
Wow.
And I don't do it just because they're paying me, because I don't get paid, but also just there's that fulfillment knowing that I did touch someone's life, right? And that's what entrepreneurship is, right? Entrepreneurship is making a difference in someone's life and the business, right? So that's why I've never not been a giver with any different charitable organizations. So Children's Hospital of Orange County, Alzheimer's Association, and last 5 years plus, I've been sitting on the board of breast cancer.
Is there a reason behind that? Do you have any personal connection other than, of course, the cause
So
luckily,
there's no personal connection in terms of, I haven't experienced anyone in my family with having gone through cancer treatment. But I see the stories and I see families, and there's nothing more fulfilling to know that you're doing something to help those. That's my joy.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, you're not only amazing, but like when we talk about frequency, like I'm all about frequency, right?
100%.
So it's like exactly where we're leveling at, even if you feel it. Although he's got a calm voice, my frequency may be up here, but man, we are like elevating at the top.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you, but I also want to bring this up to you as our audience. Are you creating a product or a service that is excellent? Are you willing to deviate from the norm to create something that no one else has ever done? Being an entrepreneur isn't about being a me too. It's about being someone that's willing to deviate, step out completely of just get away from the box, but to create your own ideas. And this is the work that we're doing. You know, you've learned some of the most brilliant steps of how to take your business or be an entrepreneur that serves, and it comes back to you. The values that you have. It's not about you, it's about your team. How you value them is what you're gonna get in return. And I love the saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, get out of the room.
100%.
Right? Get out of the room. All right, everyone. I hope you learned so much from today. Make sure that you follow Deviate. You let us know what you learned from today. Follow Jonas. Let him know how much of a rock star he is, and we make sure that you tell Ryan how handsome he is, how good his fashion is, right? And of course, if you know who he is, the relationship that you've built with him already. All right, everyone, I hope you had an amazing show today. Again, let's thank Nightfall Group for this beautiful home that we have here in Bel Air, and we're getting ready for the most unbelievable party, and I'm sure you're gonna see some snippets of it very, very soon. All right, everyone, have a great one. Be unstoppable and stay wild.